How's it going, everyone? This is going to be a new player gearing guide for Raid Shadow Legends, and ever since I made the video from about a week or so ago, a couple of you guys messaged me saying you guys got into this game. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. This isn't sponsored or paid for. I've just been enjoying this game. And I've gotten a couple of messages and people saying that they've been struggling gearing up their champions. There's a lot of mistakes that you can make early on, wasting silver and resources, leveling up equipment that you don't need to be. So I thought I would just put out a brief new player gearing guide. So let's just get into the basics. I'm not going to get into advanced stuff in this video. Let's go to the champion menu and you'll see all the gear that I have here. Now let's just cover some very important stuff to know as a new player. And that is going to be the difference between star value and actual equipment rarity. So the star value is pretty simple. You'll see the number of stars that equipment has. As you can see, the gear that I'm using has either 4 or 5 stars on it. And then the rarity is going to be the border colors. So we've got white for common, we've got green for uncommon, blue for rare, and we've got purple for epics. Now, very important for a newer player, you want to focus primarily on having more stars on your gear rather than the rarity. The rarity is really going to be more of an intermediate or an advanced player's thing, and the reason is because the more stars that your equipment has, the more base stats that it is going to give you. So if we take a look at my weapon right here, you'll see the attack. Now, if this were a 4-star weapon, it would have about 20% less attack. If it were a 3-star weapon, it would have about 40% less attack, and so on and so forth. And generally speaking, the main stats are going to be way more than the substats on your equipment. So as a newer player, you don't really want to focus on the substats so much as you do wanting to make sure that you get equipment that has really good main stats. Now, speaking of main stats, we've got a grid of 9 pieces of equipment here. We've got the top 3, we've got the middle 3, and then we've got the bottom 3. Now, the bottom 3 I'm going to leave out for the time being because this is going to be more for advanced players. But let's talk about the top 3 and the middle 3 because there's a big difference between the top 3 pieces of gear and the middle 3 pieces of gear. Now, the top 3 is going to be your weapon, your helmet, and your offhands. Now, when it comes to these 3, they are always going to have the same main stats. Weapons will always have attack, helmets will always have HP, and shields will always have defense. Now, the middle 3, it doesn't work like that. The gloves, the chest, and the boots can all roll a whole bunch of different stats. So the gloves that I'm using have HP percentage, but if we take a look at another pair of gloves, you'll see that they have defense. Now, we can actually take a look at all the different things that we can get from those middle 3 pieces of gear by going to the campaign menu, and you'll see that when it comes to the top 3, which is going to be your weapon, they always have attack, helmets always have HP, and shields always have defense. But now once we get to the middle 3, gloves, there's a whole bunch of different things that you can get on gloves. Here's the list of them right there. Then we've got our chest, and finally we've got our boots. So what you don't want to do, and a really big mistake that I, as well as many new players, have made, is you don't want to start upgrading gear that doesn't really have a very good main stat on it. Example would be if you're working on an attack character and you end up getting gloves that have flat defense, those are probably not going to be very good. You probably want to be going for something more like attack percentage. And when it comes to the difference between flat attack, attack percentage, flat defense, defense percentage, and also very importantly, flat HP or percentage HP, generally speaking, the percentage is almost always better. So when it comes to gloves, I'd say the things that are really good are going to be the attack percentage, the HP percentage, and the crit percentage. The other stats are generally not as desirable. They still might be depending on the champion that you want to put them on, but those are generally going to be the better stats. Now for chest armor, it's also going to end up being the HP percentage, the attack percentage. Those are probably going to be the 2 most desirable stats out of this list. And for boots, boots are a little bit tricky because speed is a very good stat. It's going to allow you to act quicker and take more turns, so a lot of the times people are only specifically looking for speed on their boots. But as an alternative, there is also HP percentage and attack percentage, which are decent as well. But don't make the mistake of getting a pair of boots that have something like flat defense and then leveling them up and spending a whole bunch of silver and realizing that you don't have speed boots and you're missing out on a whole bunch of extra power for your character. Now, also very importantly, this will highlight the difference between the stars. Now, as you can see, as you get more stars on your gear, it's going to get a lot better. 1-star boots only have a maximum speed of 21. 2-star boots have a maximum speed of 25. 3-star have a maximum of 30. And if we actually take a look at 4 and 5-star, that goes up to 35 and 40. So quite simply, the more stars that you have on any gear will increase the main stat on it. So that's what you want to be going for as a newer player. You want to make sure to try to get good stats on your middle equipment, your gloves, your chest, and your boots. And you also want to work on your top gear set as well. But generally speaking, I would focus more on the middle because the top ones always have the same main stats, so you don't have to farm a whole bunch of different pieces trying to get what you're looking for. When it comes to farming gear, you're probably going to be having to farm more gloves, chests, and boots because you're looking for that specific role. Now, gear also has substats. Now, that's something that I haven't really talked about too much because while substats are very good, they are not as important for a newer player as what I just talked about right now. But this is going to be the difference between common, uncommon, rare, and epic, or white, green, blue, and purple. Now, when you level up your equipment, like these gloves right here are leveled up to plus 12, it's going to do a couple of things. First of all, most importantly, is it's going to increase your main stat. So that's why you want to make sure that you have a really good main stat for that middle set of gears, because you don't want to be working on gear and then realize that you're leveling up a main stat that really isn't that good for you because you've wasted all those resources leveling up that gear now. Something else that's going to happen is once you end up getting your gear to every plus 4 levels, so plus 4, plus 8, plus 12, and plus 16, what's going to happen is you're going to start to unlock substats. Now, if we go to my equipment here, let's just go to something that has not been leveled up. You'll see new substat at level 4, level 8, level 12, and level 16. Now, obviously, there are good substats and there are bad substats, but this is really something that you don't want to worry too much about until you have already gotten good high-star equipment and good main stats on your middle set of gear. That's when you start really kind of optimizing your substats. Don't worry about it too much as a newer player. And this is going to be the difference between your common, your uncommon, your rares, and your epics. Is commons will start off with no substats. You have to start leveling up your equipment to start getting substats. Now, uncommons will already have a substat on them. So if we take a look, these already have speed as the first substat unlocked. Now, once you get it to level 4, what it's actually going to do is it's going to take one of the already unlocked substats, it's going to boost it. So once I get this helmet to plus 4, what would happen is it would boost this speed. So it might go from plus 4, or it might go from 4 speed to 8 speed. And then once I get it to level 8, just like regular equipment, it's going to unlock a new substat at random, and so on and so forth. So greens will start off with 1 substat unlocked. Blues will start off with 2 substats unlocked. So if I were to level this up to plus 4, what would happen is it would take randomly the attack or the crit rate and it would boost one of those. Then when I get it to plus 8, it will take the attack or the crit rate and it'll boost it again. And yes, you can boost the same substat twice. So you can see how as you get to the later stages of the game, there's definitely a lot of min-maxing trying to level up your epic equipment and trying to hit boosting certain substats 3 times to get as much of it as you can. But again, this is going to be more for advanced players. Don't really worry about this too much, but this is going to be the difference between your equipment rarity. Is it'll start off with having more substats unlocked. Now, just because equipment is more rare, like this chest right here is going to have 3 substats unlocked. If it's low stars, you don't want to start using it because regardless of how rare it is, even if it's an epic, if it's a 4-star, it's going to have the same main stat as any other 4-star epic chests that have attack. So a 5-star common chest with attack is going to have more attack than this one. It'll actually start off with, I believe, 8%. So don't really worry too much about the rarity until you already are working on a high-star gear that has good main stats for your character. Those are really the big differences. I think the biggest mistakes that I personally made were not really knowing what the good substats are for that middle gear set, the gloves, the chests, and the boots. So definitely do a little bit of research for the champion that you are using. Kind of research what kind of champion it is, whether it's an HP, an attack, a support champion, and then find out which of these stats for the gloves, chests, and the boots are going to be best for that champion, and don't start actually leveling up that equipment until you get the right main stat. Such a waste. I've wasted millions of silver leveling up equipment that has the wrong main stats on it. Besides that, don't worry too much about focusing on low star epics or low star rares. Priority is always more stars before the actual rarity, and don't really worry too much about the substats until you already have a decent set of 4 or 5 star gear that has the right stats on it. Substats are really going to be more intermediate and advanced. If you get good stuff, that's great, but don't keep trying over and over until you already have a decent set of high star gear with stats already that are good for you. That's about it, really. Hopefully this was informative, and I was able to pack pretty much all the mistakes and everything that I've learned over the last week or so playing this game into about 10 minutes. So if you guys are new and you're gearing up your character, hopefully you guys learned a bit from this video. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing for more. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Clan, signing out.